What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of Gin and Tonic. I'm your host, as always, John J. II, and thank you for joining us today on a Friday, August 20th, 2021. Really big topic today for all you college football fans like myself and like many of the people I know and people that watch these videos. So stay tuned. Really big episode today. But before that, I kind of want to put a precursor out there. I've been teasing people all week about it. Got a big announcement coming probably Monday, Tuesday of next week. People are DMing me, telling me, what's going on. Tell me what's happening. People are curious, and I respect that. But just hold your horses for now. We'll get you guys the information you need as time allows us to. So just relax. Everything will be okay. So let's get into the topic. Let's talk about the college football playoff and the new alliance that has been proposed amongst the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12. So these three conferences are planning on forming an alliance, whatever you want to call it, to basically combat the strength of the SEC. Now, obviously, the SEC has Auburn, they have Georgia, they have Alabama, they have LSU. Listen, I can keep going on and on. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, okay, Kentucky. All right, I'll stop. But let's just talk about this for a second. So on the Paul Finebaum show on ESPN, they were talking about it, and Paul actually said himself, this is embarrassing to the integrity of each of these individual conferences and what they stand for as a conference, representing football teams and colleges that are in their area and have basically gave their allegiance to that conference, whether it's the ACC, the Big Ten, or the Pac-12. Now, obviously, all three of these conferences are major conferences, have been around for a long time, and obviously our own Michigan State Spartans are part of the Big Ten, so this pertains to us. Even you Michigan fans out there, you scumbags, it pertains to you guys too. So let's just pay attention to this type of stuff. So whether or not they're going to actually form this allegiance, it looks like it's going to happen based on reports that I've seen on the internet and on the web and on Twitter and things like that. A lot of collaborative sources on this one. The Atlantic was the first news source to report this event, so we'll see how it kind of turns out. They're going to make a decision. The Board of Governors of all three conferences are going to make a decision within 10 days per CBS Sports. So this article's been everywhere. This is breaking news. This just happened today. And so we're going to see how this plays out. But also, the other kind of curveball this throws at everything is basically they want to expand the college football playoff. So now it's obviously 4 teams. It's been that way for a couple of years. There's been different propositions. Some teams want to do an 8-team. Some people want to do, a 6-team, which kind of would get a little bit dicey. But the majority of people have been advocating for a 12-team playoff amongst college football teams. Now, obviously, the good side of this, it would give teams that don't see the playoffs, don't see that type of scene that often. It'll give them more of a opportunity, similar to the top 64 in March Madness. It gives every team that basically places and seeds, gives them a chance to win the chip, and that's very important. Especially we're talking about any sport, any collegiate sport, Division I. They should all have an opportunity to win it all if they have a great season, right? Exactly. Of course I'm right. So we're going to talk about how is that going to basically change the dynamic of football if they advance and expand the college football playoff to 12 teams from 4. Now, obviously, that's, if you do some mental math there, 4 times 3 is 4, so that's 3 times as many teams as originally planned and originally decided by the NCAA. So how will this define, how will this kind of figure everything out? How will people figure this out? How are people going to make sense of this? To bring it full circle with the allegiance, with the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten, how are we going to have a winner of that conference? There was 3 conferences before. Now they're planning on making it one singular conference. How are they going to make this work? Who's going to win the conference outright? Are there going to be different regions, different divisions? There's already 2 regions in the Big Ten right now. So that kind of throws a curveball at things. You have those 2 teams play, depending on how they play within their own region. They play each other in the Big Ten championship. And then that basically decides the Big Ten champion. And whether or not there'll be regions or whatever, I haven't figured any of that out. I'm sure these guys haven't figured it out. But basically, we're going to see how it pans out. How is it going to affect the dynamic of college football? Now, this is another thing too. There's obviously you probably missed this. Maybe you didn't. The Big 12 is not in consideration for this alliance. Now, this kind of puts the SEC on their high horse a little bit. Let's take them down off their pedestal for a second. Obviously, they have Alabama, they have LSU, they have Georgia. I don't care. I don't care. They have Auburn. I don't care. Leave it up to the colleges, leave it up to the board of governors for the specific conference. And I think that should be able to, alleviate all these issues that we have. So we'll see how that pans out. And I'm really excited to see how it pans out. College football is on the way. It's on the brink. And hopefully none of these COVID restrictions, these COVID Delta variants are going to throw a curveball in the season similar to what they did last season. So we're highly anticipating a great season and a great turnout for the 2021 season of college football. I'll be covering everything college football-wise. And I'm very excited to do that. So thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of Gin and Tonic. That's all the time we have. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. Have a great night.